Hello and welcome back to Mariners Rundown, the show that gives you, the fan, all you need to know about the Seattle Mariners, hosted by yours truly, Jake from Raise the Trident. Hope you guys are doing well. Today it is currently May 8th. This is going to be out the morning of May 9th. So if you are on the way to work, wake up! Beat the traffic, get to work, pumped up. It's game day for our first game against the Toronto Blue Jays in Seattle. Okay. And appreciate you for listening if you are listening on your way to work, and hope you have a great day. We've got a lot to get into here. So first, before we get into that, if you're listening to the show on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please follow the show and leave a 5-star review. It helps me out a lot. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, leave a like. And if you like the channel enough, you can become a member for a couple dollars a month to get some exclusive content. I would appreciate any of that. Multiple things are free and it helps me out a lot, especially those reviews on the audio platform. So please do that. But we have to talk about the Seattle Mariners. They are currently 22-14 at the time of this recording, and they are 3 games ahead of the Athletics in second place. So we are in first place of the AL West, which is huge. And yeah, the boys are playing some pretty dang good ball recently. Not dominating anyone, but they are getting wins, and we appreciate that. And we're going to get into it. So we just got done at this point yesterday, 2 days ago, with another road trip, our second real road trip of the season. Started out with a 3-game set in Arlington against the Texas Rangers, where we won 2 of 3. And we kind of did the reverse thing than what we have been normally this season. In those 3-game sets, we've been dropping the first game, then winning the last 2. This time, we won the first 2 games and lost the third. So game 1, absolutely resounding win 13-1, which was really nice to have a win that we could kind of cruise to, especially in the second half of the game, because in the top of the 5th we would score 7 runs on the Rangers. It started with Rylan Thomas, who we had just called up the previous day. I don't remember. I think it was right before that game. So Rylan Thomas, his MLB debut, he would get a double for his first career hit in the top of the 5th inning. And then we would end up loading the bases, and Big Dumper, he dumped the ball into, I believe it was right field, for a grand slam, which was also his second home run of the game, his 12th of the year, which is currently tied for the MLB lead with, I believe, Aaron Judge right now. I'm not sure if anyone else is at 12. There are some games going on right now as I'm recording this, so who knows. But Big Dumper, 12th home run of the year, was a grand slam, and just kind of opened it up for us to just kind of cruise to a win. We also got a good Rowdy Tellez RBI single, Ben Williamson RBI double during that, and then Rylan Thomas got his first RBI as well on a sacrifice fly. So good day for Rylan Thomas, his first base hit, first run scored, and his first RBI. So congratulations to him. He was just sent down again to Tacoma due to us acquiring Leody Taveras, but we'll get into that in a minute. And also in game 1 of Texas, we got a good start from Brian Wu. 6.1 innings of work, only 1 hit, 0 earned runs, and 8 Ks. So awesome to get that first game 1 win against the Texas Rangers. And then moving on to game 2, was not nearly as easy as a win, but we would win 2-1. It was a 1-1 tie through 8 innings, and our Girthquake member, Rowdy Tellez, our rotund fella, would come up huge with an RBI single to give the Mariners a lead in the 8th inning, which was able to give Andres Munoz some time to get warmed up, get in the game, and shut it down, baby. And he's been shutting down games all year long, and that would bring us to a 2-1 win in game 2. So we already win the series. Game 3, not as important. Obviously, would love to get another sweep of the Rangers, but we do not. We end up losing that game. Whoa, why did I say game twice? 8-1. Jacob deGrom pitched pretty well. Got 5 innings of work, only gave up 3 hits and 1 earned run, but only struck out 3 good guys, which is nice to see from a guy who has such good stuff as Jacob deGrom, only getting 3 Ks. So like that. Logan Evans was out for his second ever MLB start, and the first 2 innings were looking pretty good. But that third inning, man, he gave up 6 earned runs in the third inning, And yeah, you could just kind of tell one of the problems with Logan Evans so far is that, when he starts to bleed runs, he cannot stop it. And we saw that in Arlington. Very similar a little bit to the Brian Wu debut start in Arlington, where he gave up a bunch of runs. So who knows? Maybe his next start will be a little bit better. It looks like it's shaping up to be, I think, against the Toronto Blue Jays. So maybe he can have a little bit more luck there, especially in Seattle. He'd still be able to get through 5 innings of work, which was nice to see, but still pretty rough starting for him. So ended up taking 2 of 3 against the Texas Rangers in Arlington. Then we moved to Sacramento for a 3-game set against the Athletics, which should still be in Oakland, but they're not. They're now in Sacramento at Sutter Health Park, which is the AAA home of the Sacramento River Cats, which is the AAA affiliate for the San Francisco Giants. And they are still sharing that field. So whenever the Athletics are on the road, the River Cats are playing at Sutter Health Park. Whenever the Athletics are at home, the River Cats are on the road. And yeah, I didn't really know what to think of the series beforehand because it's our first time ever playing a game in a AAA park, basically. I guess other than when the Toronto Blue Jays were briefly in Buffalo, New York for a little bit. And we haven't been to Tampa Bay this year. They're obviously playing at the Yankees spring training stadium right now due to the hurricane taking out Tropicana. So we haven't played them yet. So this was the first time this year that we were playing in a not major league ballpark. Didn't really know how the series was going to go. I mean, honestly, you don't really know if the series is going to go well, especially offensively, with it being kind of a smaller ballpark. Maybe the ball is going to fly, or it's going to be the most annoying series in the world. And thankfully, we got the most annoying series in the world. So we would end up losing game 1, unfortunately, in 11 innings, which marked the first time we've lost back-to-back games, I think, since the Giants series. And yeah, that was rough to say the least. In that 11 inning span there, Bryce Miller was on the bump. He just didn't have it again. He really hasn't had it all year. And by have it, I mean his control. Bryce is really struggling to throw strikes. It has made it so that hitters really don't have to respect any of his pitches specifically, and they can go up swinging when he's in the zone, and they're getting some hard contact off of him. And yeah, it ended up they battered him around a little bit to the tune of 4 innings of work, 7 hits in total, 4 earned runs, and 1 strikeout. And yeah, I just feel bad for Bryce. Just don't really know. It's got to be a mechanical thing, and at this point, a bit of a mental thing as well. But yeah, it's been tough to see him on the bump this year, which is terrible because at the same time, like at the beginning of the year, I think a lot of us were like, Bryce Miller's a dark horse Cy Young favorite. And at this rate, he's going to really need to change his season around if he's going to even be in that conversation at all. So hopefully he can figure it out soon. His next start, I believe, is also slated for the Blue Jays, which is, the Yankees. So yikes. He's really going to need to turn around if he's going to get through that Yankees order. On the other side of the field, we had Luis Severino, who we faced on opening day against the Athletics. And he did get through 6 innings. However, we got some runs off of him as well, 4 in total. So by the time Miller and Severino came out, they both gave up 4 earned runs. So kind of a wash in that way, except for Severino got a couple more innings. So there is that. And then, yeah, it was just kind of a back and forth game up until extra innings. And Andres Munoz comes in for the 10th to try to, obviously lock down the game, try to prevent them from scoring a run. And we had gone up, I believe, in the bottom of the 10th. So we had a 1-run lead. Immediately, Jacob Wilson, who was absolutely unconscious at the plate the whole series, first pitch from Andres Munoz, he hits a single to score the Manfred man on second base, which was J.J. Bleday, to tie the game. So immediately 1 pitch and the game is tied. And we're like, okay, here it comes. Is this going to be Andres Munoz's first bad outing? And once again, that run that scored from second base is not earned. So at this point, he still has a 0 ERA. And then he immediately follows that up with walking, and if you can't see me, if you're on audio, I'm quotation marks around the word walking. He walks Nick Kurtz, but the reason I put that in quotations, it was a very bad check swing call. Kurtz definitely tried to swing at that pitch for strike 3, or what would have been strike 3. And it gets called a no swing, which is not reviewable, and therefore it becomes ball 4. So instead of a 1 out with 1 runner on first, we are at no outs with runners on first and second. And then Luis Arias comes up. He had a good series in total, but he comes up here, ex-Mariner from last year, Luis Arias. We're talking about the same person. Appears to ground out, I believe, into a double play too. But then it gets called catcher's interference, which was baffling. And the home plate ump called it immediately. So he was pretty, he had a lot of conviction in his call. And on the replays, you're like, it didn't look like it touched Raleigh's glove, because they did do a review. Didn't look like it touched Raleigh's glove at all. And then it turns out that apparently the strings on the glove count for catcher's interference, which is crazy that's the rule, because the laces or whatever that kind of stick out from the glove, I mean, that's not going to hinder a bat path, but apparently that's the way the rule works. And yeah, that was terrible, honestly, because if the home plate umpire doesn't even call that, then it probably isn't called at all, because Luis Arias didn't react or anything. So it's just annoying, because now, once again, instead of probably a runner on first or a runner on second or a runner, I guess it would be a runner on third with 1 out, it's a bases loaded situation with no outs and a tie game. And you're playing in a AAA ballpark. So, and not only that, your 3 next batters is Lawrence Butler, Brent Rooker, and Tyler Soderstrom. Munoz decides, I'm going to strike all of them out. He strikes out Lawrence Butler, he strikes out Brent Rooker, and he strikes out Tyler Soderstrom to end the 10th inning, which is one of the best relief appearances I maybe have seen in a long time. And of course it came from Andres Munoz. Absolute dog. Just an insane outing for him to have bases loaded, no outs, and just strike 3 dudes out in a row to end it. Awesome stuff. And at the time of this now, Andres Munoz still has a 0 ERA, which is really nice to say. Unfortunately, the 11th inning would not go nearly as good. The Mariners would not score in the top of the 11th. And so immediately when the Athletics come up with the Manfred man on second, Gio Urshela would bunt over the winning run to third. So 1 out, runner on third. And you have Shea Langoliers and JJ Bleday up. And for some reason, instead of pitching to them and hoping they get it out, which, I mean, granted, a good fly ball probably wins the game, they decide to walk the bases loaded intentionally to have a force out at home, but they bring the infield in. The problem is that the batter is Jacob Wilson, who is batting for a 7,000 average right now. All he does is put the ball in play. That's all he does. And I understand a little bit the sense of they were hoping he would hit it to them. But the thing is Wilson, when he gets the bat on the ball, he's not just hitting little dink shots to the pitcher. He's hitting the ball hard. And that's exactly what he did. He hit a single up the middle off of Casey Legumina to win the game. So we end up losing game 1 in extras and 11 innings in total. Heartbreaker. And once again, like I said, ends up being the first time we've lost back-to-back games since San Francisco. So vibes are down a little bit. Going into game 2, you have Emerson Hancock on the mound, and you're like, okay, well, you just don't really feel like you know exactly what you're going to get from Emerson Hancock. Well, he decides, screw you, I'm going to go and pitch my 3rd straight quality start. He goes 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 strikeouts, and 2 walks. So obviously not getting a whole lot of whiffs or anything, but he still gets the innings. He was very efficient. He ended up getting pulled, actually, after the 6th inning. He was only at 71 pitches, so he easily could have went into the 7th at least, but they take him out instead, which I didn't really agree with that, but it is what it is, because they do end up winning this game, obviously, as I've said earlier. And the ninth inning was specifically where we ended up winning that game, because entering the ninth inning, we were down 3-2. But we ended up managing to get the bases loaded with one out. Cal Raleigh was already getting the off day in general. He wasn't in the lineup. He wasn't catching, DHing, nothing like that. They were intending for this just to be an off day, maybe pinch it later in the game if need be. They bring him in with the bases loaded and one out. And of course, Cal Raleigh, being the absolute clutch god he is, gets a pinch hit 2-run single to give the Mariners a 4-3 lead. And then immediately Dylan Moore hits a sac fly to make it 5-3, a nice little insurance run. So we ended up going to the bottom of the ninth with a 5-3 lead after being down 3-2. And Carlos Vargas comes in to get the save, which is an interesting decision. I'm not saying I disagree with it. Andres Munoz was clearly down from game one and his outing there. And Carlos Vargas comes to get his first save of his MLB career. But the problem is he threw 30-something pitches the day before in game one. He pitched 2 innings of work in game one. In game two, they bring him in the ninth to get the save. And by gosh, Vargas does it. He gets his first ever MLB save, which is really awesome work. He's been a really impressive guy out of the bullpen that we've had, and was a little bit unexpected. Really didn't know how good he was going to be. We knew kind of the stuff was there, the velo's there, but his control's always been a bit of a hindrance, and he's been I would say pretty solid so far this year. So really looking forward to seeing more Carlos Vargas, hopefully in these upcoming games, to see how he does. And going into game 3, we would have Brian Wu on the mound. And you're feeling good. You're like, Brian Wu has already like 5 quality starts. He is easily the best pitcher on the rotation right now. And you're feeling good that you're probably going to extend this series winning streak. Unfortunately, Brian Wu has a pretty bad start. His worst start of the year thus far. He gets through 6 innings, but he gives up 5 earned runs. And yeah, that was pretty rough. But in the 6th inning, Cal Raleigh and Randy Arozarena work a walk. There is 1 out. Rowdy Tellez comes up, and Rowdy Tellez, man, with runners in scoring position, dude is hitting out of his mind to get those RBIs in, and he does it again, this time with a 3-run home run, which with 1 swing of the bat gives us a 4-5 lead. So a 1-run game still, but gives us that 5th run. Or sorry, doesn't give us the lead. Sorry, it makes it from 1-5 to 4-5. So now instead of a 4-run lead that the Athletics had over us, it becomes a 1-run game. So it's a lot more within reach, especially only in the 6th inning. We have some more ups, more base hits, or more at bats to try to get that lead. And in the top of the 8th, it comes. Randy Arozarena walks again. Brother is either walking or hitting nukes, and he's not doing anything else. And he gets taken out of the game. Kind of not sure if he took himself out of the game or what. But Mastrobuoni becomes the pinch runner for Randy Arozarena, and he steals second, which was nice to get him into scoring position. Then new acquisition in his first game with the Mariners, Leody Taveras hits an RBI single to tie the game up. And he ends up getting to second base, or I think so. No, he didn't get to second base beforehand, but right after Leody Taveras, Dylan Moore gets an RBI double to take the lead, scoring Taveras. And like that, instead of 4-5, we're now up 6-5. And that's in the top of the 8th. So in the bottom of the 9th, we go to Andres Munoz. He locks it down, strikes out Jacob Wilson, of all people, to get that 13th save of the season, which he's currently 2nd in saves right now. And we end up winning the series against the Athletics. So ultimately, it is a 4-2 road trip, which is really nice to see, especially against 2 division rivals. And going into that, right now, the Mariners are playing well against their division. They're currently 14-5 against their division. Right now, they are up 2-1 versus the Houston Astros. They're up 5-1 on the Texas Rangers. They're up 4-3 against the Athletics, and they're up 2-0 against the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. So really liking how they're playing in the division. I know that's probably going to come into effect when we're getting towards the end of September and we're looking at playoff chances here. So I like they're getting into an early lead on some of their division rivals, especially the Rangers and Astros. Going into Leody Taveras, we had to talk about him briefly. So yeah, we did end up acquiring Leody Taveras after he was placed on waivers by the Texas Rangers. We ended up making the waiver claim and get him. And he immediately takes a flight to Sacramento, and he lands, per the broadcast, at midnight after Game 2 versus the Athletics. And in Game 3, he's right in the lineup. So pretty quick turnaround for Leody to get into the lineup for the Mariners. And although first couple of ABs weren't great and whatnot, he ended up having a super clutch RBI single in that game, which helped us. I believe he scored the tying run or drove in the tying run, and then he scored the game-winning run. So really good first game for Leody Taveras. In general, don't have a whole lot of stats about him necessarily. He's been with the Rangers for quite a few years now. Bat's not great, and he's really only had one season with a league average WRC plus. The rest have been under that. But he's a good defender and good speed. So he's kind of like a Victor Robles type is the comp I've been hearing from a lot of people. The bat may turn around a little bit with the Mariners, which would be really awesome, because if it does, you already have that plus speed and plus defense to go along with it to make him a really valuable player for us, especially with all the injuries we've been having. So, as we normally do for this pod here, we're going to get into the updates into the standings as far as the offense and pitching. So this is as of the morning of May 8th. So there has been some games tonight that might change some stuff around. But that's as of this morning, May 8th, or when you're listening to this yesterday morning. So in the team, Jorge Polanco currently leads the team in batting average, slug, and WRC+. JP Crawford leads the qualified hitters on the Mariners in on-base percentage. If you're looking at non-qualified, Leo Rivas is above him technically. Cal Raleigh leads the team, obviously, in home runs. He is tied for the total league-wide lead in home runs. And he also leads the offense in F-WAR. He has 2.0 F-WAR, wins above replacement through 36 games. So right now, Cal Raleigh is on pace to be like a 6-win player as a catcher, which is crazy. And then the team in general, we have 10 hitters with an above league average WRC+, which is really nice to see. They are continuing to hit really well. And let's get into that as far as the link rankings. So the entire Mariners offense comparative to the rest of the league right now in batting average, they are 12th in batting average, which last week they were 19th. So some nice improvement on that front, which is nice to see. On base percentage, they are second in all of baseball. In slug, they're 9th in all of baseball. And in OPS, they're 5th in all of baseball. So that is really good to see. In 7th, for runs, our total runs, they are 7th and they lead the AL West. In hits, they are 14th. In home runs, they're 5th. So they're slugging the ball really well. In stolen bases, they're 4th. So they're active on the base pass. Strikeouts, they're 16th most. So they're middle of the pack in strikeouts, which is really nice to see because so far most of the year they've still been hovering in kind of the top 10 most strikeouts, usually about top 8. It's nice to see them more in the middle of the pack. That's really cool. And this might blow your mind a little bit. Right now in WRC+, they are tied for second with the Los Angeles Dodgers. So this offense is tied with the Los Angeles Dodgers offense right now when it comes to WRC+, which is not something I think I was ever expecting to say about the Mariners, but I like it. I like it a lot. And this is for the whole season. So this is for all of the games they've played thus far. Now going on to the pitching. The pitching is obviously a little bit different here. Not in top 10 in really anything for the most part. But on the starting pitching side, Wu is still the best healthy starter right now. Right now it's looking like George Kirby is probably going to do another couple rehab assignments in Tacoma before he's back. Logan Gilbert sounds like he is progressing really well in his recovery from the flexor strain. It's looking like he's playing catch with no problems. So maybe they are right that we might see him closer to the end of May. Still feels a little bit too optimistic because he probably should do a rehab start or two, but still really nice to see that he is feeling pretty good. So when it comes to our starters right now, league wide, they currently rank 15th in ERA. They rank 17th in WHIP, 15th in batting average against. They are 15th in strikeouts and in 20th in innings pitched. So the rotation right now as a whole has been pretty middle of the pack, which is weird to say as a Mariners fan, but not surprising when you're missing both Logan Gilbert and George Kirby. On the bullpen side, really, the only person to talk about is Andres Munoz. He's in my opinion, the best closer in the game right now. I mean, you can maybe make a little bit of a concession for Robert Suarez with the Padres. Right now, Munoz is second in saves in baseball. He is behind Robert Suarez of the Padres by 1. So Robert Suarez is at 14. Munoz has 13 right now. He is only one of 3 qualified relievers with a 0.00 ERA. So good stuff, Mooney. I almost said the other S word. And right now, Andres Munoz is second in F4 amongst qualified relievers, only behind Robert Suarez of the Padres by 0.1 wins. So it's very close there. So I'll still say he's the best closer in the game. But right now, our bullpen as a whole in their league rankings, right now the bullpen ranks 9th in ERA, 19th in WHIP, 24th in batting average against, 23rd in strikeouts, and they've pitched the 7th most innings of any other bullpen in baseball. So what this really tells me is that, one, they're getting a little lucky. They're getting a lot of traffic. They're giving up a lot of hits, and they're not striking out a whole lot of guys at all. But their ERA being only 9th kind of makes it seem like they're, when they are getting hits, it's not doing damage too much, which is nice. But still, hoping the bullpen kind of, I don't really know what to say about the bullpen. You don't really know if it's going to get better or worse or what. I think it's going to get a bit better as time goes on. But still, we're still winning games. I'll take it. So next segment we're going to get into is my interview with Brady Farkas, who is from the Refuse to Lose podcast and Mariners on SI. So we're going to talk to Brady about the state of the team right now. What's his thoughts at this time? We'll get right into it and go. Today, our guest on Mariners Rundown is Brady Farkas. You can find him on audio platforms hosting the Refuse to Lose podcast, along with written content with the Mariners on SI. Brady's been on the channel a few different times, so he's not new to the channel. However, this is his first appearance on Mariners Rundown. So, Brady, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Jake. It's nice to be on this side of the microphone because I know what goes into being the guy who produces the content and does the interviews. And it's certainly a lot. And I know you're undertaking a lot this season as well. So I'm doing well and appreciate that all you're doing for the Mariners sphere also.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, Brady and I had the pleasure of meeting for the first time at opening day, which was a really fun just experience all around, meeting some other content creators, but also Brady is probably the only person I would bet in the space that's actually taller than me. So kind of made me feel a little self-conscious for that, but thanks, Brady. But hey, it's because you're like 6'5" or something. I'm 6'3", so you have a couple inches on me there. And yeah, it was just like, and it's one of those things too, right? Where like we create content and all that, and you don't, I just see this, right? I just see webcam, what you look like there. And then it's like when you're meeting people in person, you're like, oh wow, they're a lot taller or shorter or whatever than I expected. But yeah, congratulations for being taller than me, I guess is I'm going with that.
Well, it was a lot of fun to meet you and the Mariner Mojo guys and some of the other guys in this space also. And I think it was a cool thing that you did, the opening day meetup, because look, I've been in this business now for more than a decade, and it's a hard business, and it's a cutthroat business, and it's a competitive business. And to see the corroboration, the genuine like among the Mariners content creators was certainly cool. So I appreciate you organizing that.
Of course, yep. It's always I think nice for us to try to get together the best we can, and technically yes, making YouTube videos and content usually when you're doing the same topic too can be a competitive thing for sure. However, I guess my philosophy around it, at least for the Mariners stuff, is like we all can have different takes about what's going on with the team. We all have different styles of providing the content around the team. We all do different things, I feel like, in general. So there's enough space where we don't have to be like competitive and be like, oh yeah, like that person is, I don't want them to get more subscribers than me, blah blah blah. It's like it's stupid. We all love baseball. We all love the Mariners, and there's enough. I feel like space to go around. But getting into the Mariners, today is the off day before their homestand against the Toronto Blue Jays and New York Yankees. Gonna be looking forward to that. But this team has won 9 straight series, which after the start and especially after the Giants series in San Francisco, didn't really feel like that was going to happen. We were just fresh off of losing Victor Robles, and Kirby's wasn't back. Gilbert's gone down during this little stretch too, and yeah, it's been pretty rough on the injury side, but these guys are still managing to squeak out wins, and they're in a really good place right now. So, Brady, what's your overall feelings about the club right now?
I mean, number one, I just don't know how you can't be excited by what you're watching. And look, I have made a lifetime of fandom out of waiting for Lucy to pull the football away from Charlie Brown. Like, I get it. I've never tried to allow myself to get too high because I've seen what happens when you do that and the rug gets pulled out from under you. So I get Mariners fans that aren't fully bought in. I get Mariners fans who are feeling, you know, lukewarm about what's happening because they're just waiting for the other shoe to fall. I've made a lifetime out of doing that, but I'm trying to enjoy this more than I have in the past because this is truly a special time and a special thing that we're watching right now. And sure, they could lose 8 of 10 and we could be singing a very, very different tune 2 weeks from now. But what we have right now is a very exciting baseball team that's doing a lot of things the right way. And they're doing a lot of things that we're not used to seeing the Mariners doing, right? The offense has been a revelation. The ability to do a lot of the little things has been a fairly big revelation, right? They steal a lot of bases. They drop bunts to a degree of success. I mean, they've failed at it at times, right? But like they've dropped bunts, they've moved runners over, they've hit sack flies, they've cut the strikeout rate. That they're playing anti, what we've seen for the last 5 or 6 years, right? The Mariners have been a team that struck out a lot and hit a lot of homers. But right now they're hitting a lot of homers and doing the other things that make up a good offense. And look, it was the tweet that you had last week, through the first 30 games or whatever, they had 152 runs. First 30 games last year, they had 109. And it feels far more sustainable because what you're seeing is, like, it's not every game being 2-1. They don't win every game 14-1 either. But this team now has on their bingo card the ability to win 7-6, 6-5, 6-4, the ability to come from behind. It was a pretty standard way to win in the past. Great pitching, grind it out. Now they can win with a little bit more diversity. And that has been the fun thing, is that there's no just cookie cutter script for this particular team right now. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of differences from last year. I mean, obviously, not to get into it too much, but last year, you get to that 10-game lead in the division, you have this epic collapse and all that. But I feel like it's a little bit different in the sense that I think the people who were watching the team every day last year, when they were going on their run and getting that division lead more and more and more, I think we all kind of, the way I remember it, at least, is we all were kind of like, how are they doing this? In the sense of, we could already see the offense was really bad and the pitching was keeping them going, and they were frankly getting pretty lucky, especially with like multiple walk-offs and all that stuff to eke out wins. And although, you still need to do that to be successful, I think we all kind of just could see that like the offense is really bad and they're getting lucky and the pitching's really good. At some point, if the pitching's not as good or they stop being lucky, how is this team going to fare? And look at, they lost a 10-game lead. And I think we all were feeling, I don't want to say surprised in the sense, I think we all just felt like, well, a 10-game lead is a 10-game lead. Like, they can't screw this up. But it was like the writing, the DNA was already messed up to begin with that team last year. especially on the offensive side. I mean, they were like historically bad, especially in the strikeouts department. Like they struck out more than almost any team ever in the history of baseball. And it's just like, I feel a lot different about the team this year. It doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel like they are just getting lucky. It doesn't feel like they're, just being held up, by one piece of this club. Like it feels like, the starting pitching is been a little bit rough. It's been pretty much middle of the road for a lot of stats right now, and the bullpen has had its shaky moments, but it's also had its good moments too. And especially Andres Munoz has been a big lifesaver too for certain close games. But yeah, it's just like the offense has been so good, and I guess the question now is how sustainable is the offense staying in a basically top 10 offense in baseball right now, kind of stats wise. I was looking up the league rankings earlier, and this offense is for WRC plus is tied for second in all of baseball. They're tied with the Dodgers, which is like weird. Like saying the Mariners offense is tied in WRC plus with the Dodgers, I would assume that someone was having a stroke if they told me that. So it's just like kind of just crazy to think that they've been this good. So the question is sustainability. Can they keep this going? What do you think about that?
Are they going to be a top 5 offense the entirety of the year? I would say probably not. But what I think is sustainable is the approach. The thing that has changed most about the Mariners right now, generally up and down, is this team's approach. Okay.
Yep.
They seem to collectively have a very good plan and a very good idea of what they're doing. And when you have that, and when that plan is good, and when you stick to it, I think that that stuff is transferable from game to game, from week to week, from month to month. Now, that's not to say that there's not going to be a game where they come out and ambush fastballs and hit everything 103 miles an hour, and they're all right at everybody, and they end up losing, and a guy throws an 87 pitch complete game. That's not to say that somebody's not going to, you know, reverse pitch them and throw them a lot of off speed pitches that they beat into the ground, and they're going to lose 2-0 to some pitcher they shouldn't. That is going to happen at some point. But their ability to grind out at bats, to make opposing pitchers work, to get into a bullpen, to make pitchers pay for their mistakes, I think that stuff is transferable. Again, Cal Raleigh's not going to hit 65 home runs, and Jorge Polanco is probably not going to be an MVP player the entirety of the year. But at the same time, even if those guys regress in those areas, I think that Julio is going to be better than he has been. I think that Randy Arozarena will go on a nice big hot streak at some point that will carry them. And if Leo Rivas comes back to earth, well, then I think there is going to be another good stretch for Dylan Moore. There just seems to be bigger depth on this team, more guys capable of doing more things. And given how well they run, there's an element of being able to create offense that hasn't been there, hasn't really been there in the past. So I think the approach, I think the style of play, I think that is sustainable. And they don't need to be top 5. If they can be top 12, that would be a massive improvement from where they've been in the past. And I think the starting pitching can, will, and should get better. So if you get regression in one area and positive regression in the other, the team can still look really darn good.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I think you're right that the sustainable part is maybe not the cumulative stats that we've seen in them ranking, top 5 or top 10 in certain things, but I think, and we were kind of saying this about last year's team, that like the pitching was so good that if they were even just a league average offense, this team would have won 90 games, and so it's not like we have had an above league average offense. The pitching hasn't been, as good as last year, obviously. But it's just wondering, like the pitching at some point, especially the starting pitching, I feel like you feel like it has to come around at some point. So it's like when that happens, if the offense is in a same or similar place, I mean, this team feels like it could be unstoppable. Now, I'm not going to say that that will happen, because I mean, kind of like you said to start this out, right? Like we have kind of learned to be, I think, cautiously optimistic when they're playing well, that like the shoe is going to drop at some point, and that could still happen, but maybe it doesn't. And maybe this is the year when they kind of have a special season, kind of like 2022. And, I think with the division the way it's at right now, strength wise, they have a really good shot and arguably a better shot than last year to win it.
This, I, I don't believe that this is the best Mariners team we have seen in the last decade. Okay. I do not
Mhm.
believe this is the most talented Mariners team we've seen in the last decade, right? At one point, this team had Felix Hernandez, Nelson Cruz, Robinson Cano, Kyle Seager, right? And all of them playing well. That team was insanely talented. The 2022 team was pretty talented also, right? And Gino's there and he's hitting 30 home runs. This isn't the most talented team the Mariners have ever had. But I do believe this is the best chance they have had in the last decade to do damage because of what you allude to. The American League as a whole is wide open.
Yep.
Okay. The Astros are very clearly in a transition year. It doesn't mean they're bad, but they're not as good as they were. The Rangers are very clearly right now not as good as people thought they were going to be. Even the Yankees are good, but without Garrett Cole and without Giancarlo Stanton, they're not at the level that they should be, I would argue. The Red Sox entered play on Thursday, I believe, under 500 or right at 500. Like, these teams that are supposed to be the behemoths aren't really acting like it. So it is there. And the thing that's cool for the Mariners, too, is like right now on Thursday at the off day, they're 8 games over 500. Okay.
Mm.
8 games over 500. If they just played 500 ball the rest of the season, they'd be 85 and 77. And that alone, I think, is probably good enough to get to the playoffs. It might not be good enough to win the division, but 500 ball the rest of the way probably gets you to be a playoff team. Can you be 3 games over 500 the rest of the way? Just 3 games over the rest of the way. Then you'd win 88 games. If you could be 5 games over 500 the rest of the way, you would win 90 games. I think that those things are attainable for this team. So I do think that this is the best chance the Mariners have had in a decade.
Yeah, I agree, and I really enjoy what I've seen from this team. The way they've been just kind of like just resilient. Like they've lost, it feels like at this point countless players to the IL, and not even just like bench pieces. I mean, we're talking starters that they've lost from Victor Robles. Luke Raley's going to be out for a little while. Logan Gilbert seems like he's doing fine, which is like huge bullet that they've dodged with that, I would say, because if he was down for the year, then we'd be having probably a different discussion regardless. But it's just I don't know. It feels like at least on the offensive side, and I was listening to an interview with Matt Brash on Seattle Sports,
Yeah.
I think a couple days ago, and he just said the messaging in the clubhouse is just like these guys were playing for each other and we're trying to win for each other. And I think that's not saying that wasn't happening before, but it's just I've seen it, right? Like we've seen them taking their walks at a above average rate to just get on base. They're not trying to do too much. It felt like last year, a lot of the time, it was like they're trying to hit a home run every at bat, or they were trying to get the big hit every single at bat, and they're just getting on base and letting it happen the way it needs to. And especially the bottom of the order has just been ridiculously good. Leo Rivas has been, I mean, it's
Awesome.
so fun to watch those at bats because you could just tell he really is like the second coming of Jose Caballero, except for he just gets on base a little bit more often. But it's nice to have that kind of guy to just work pitch counts, and we've seen it help in the games where they've been facing these aces of staffs like Tariq Skubal, and they're about to face Max Fried in this upcoming Yankees series. And it's just like, although would I still put my money that they're going to win the Fried start? No. Especially the fact he's a lefty too. They're just not as good against lefties in general. But it's like this team, though, even if they don't get a whole lot of damage off Fried, they could get him still out like in the fourth. And then they have not 6 innings, 5 innings to work at the Yankees bullpen, which has been good, but it's just like that's been their kind of the recipe for success. Is they're just not letting starting pitchers go too far into games. And it's really helped because it's like it feels like once that bullpen comes up, they seem, I don't want to say seem a little bit like looser, but you can just kind of tell there's a little bit of a shift. Like, okay, we can do some damage against these guys. Like we've got that out of the way, and we're still in this game. Let's win it. And they've been winning them, which has been really nice to see, and obviously has made it a lot more fun of a viewing experience and a covering experience, I would argue. I mean,
Yeah.
I think you and I can attest that like when they're playing good, it certainly is a bit better for the content so than when they're playing bad. So that's been really nice. One guy that's coming back soon is George Kirby. He's going to be back, probably doing one or two more rehab starts, from what it seems like. In his first rehab start on May 4th, he pitched 3 innings, 42 pitches in total, gave up 1 hit, 1 run, which I believe was a solo home run, if I remember right, and 4 Ks. And he was touching around 97, 98 with his fastball, which is really nice to see. So, Kirby's probably going to be back soon. What are you hoping to see from Kirby once he is back?
I think that my guess would be he makes 2 more rehab starts. That's just my guess.
Mm.
Best thing we've seen from Kirby so far is that he got to 42 pitches, right? Like so often when a guy goes on a rehab assignment, I'm used to a very slow buildup, right? He goes 1 inning or 2 innings and it's 20 pitches, and then the next one's 35 and the next one's 45. He hit 42 right off the rip. That's pretty good, right? So I would sit here and say, all right, if this one's 42 and the next one is 60 and the next one after that is 75, well, now you're at the point where he can come back and his first start would be 85, 90 pitches. Biggest thing is just really at this point, and it sounds kind of lame and boring, is how does he recover? That's the only thing that I care about from these rehab starts, and then ultimately right when he gets back to the big leagues, because I want to give proper credit to him. Will Carroll is a kind of injury insider, and he's written 4 books on baseball injuries and on pitching injuries. Man, I asked him on my podcast about the shoulder, and he said, look, the shoulder is interesting in that you'll see guys playing catch in the outfield, and you'll see guys throwing, you know, side sessions and bullpens, and they'll feel good. He goes, where the shoulder creates problems is that you don't really see inflammation come back until a guy is throwing it full force. So like a guy can do all this stuff and feel fine playing catch and side sessions and flat grounds. But then once he starts throwing 95, 97, that's when the pain's going to come back. So the fact that Kirby got through 3 innings, throwing 98 miles an hour, and appears to, knock on wood, not have had any issues at getting up to max velocity, that's the most important thing. Then now, we haven't heard much because he hasn't been around the team, but how has he recovered in these 4 or 5 days since the rehab start? And then presuming he pitches on Sunday again would be my guess to give him a full week. How does he feel in that start? How does the velocity look? And then how does he ultimately recover again? Because that is the biggest thing. We know the stuff is going to be there. We know the control is there. But how is it once he fires it up to as fast as it can go? How is kind of his ability to bounce back? So far, so good through 1 start. That's what I'll be looking for is how is his velocity? Is he able to hold his velocity? And then how does he feel subsequently?
Yeah, I agree, and it was nice to see him hitting that 97-ish mark on his rehab start. And like you said, we haven't really heard anything as far as like, oh yeah, the next day he wasn't feeling good or whatever. Seems like he's doing fine. I would imagine that next rehab start's coming up pretty quickly since that occurred on the 4th and we're on the 8th right now. So probably sometime this weekend, maybe even tomorrow. I don't know if the Rainiers are playing tomorrow, but yeah, it's just I guess for me, like obviously looking at that recovery when he gets back and seeing how that goes. But I guess the other thing I'm looking for is just kind of like that intensity. Like you could kind of tell in the clips, the several clips I saw from his rehab start, like there was I don't want to say an intensity, but he seemed kind of like ready to go. And the way he was talking about his appearance, he seemed like ready to go. Like he wants to be back, which we already knew from the beginning when they initially told him he was going to have to wait. He was not happy about that. So I'm not surprised that he's like ready to be competing again. Um, but yeah, I'm curious like when they're probably going to schedule his first start. I've heard some people say that like maybe when we play the White Sox next, which I guess is pretty soon, which I guess would
That's
make
the
sense.
19th to the 21st.
Yeah,
So
so that I mean that would be about in line if he was going to do two more rehab starts. That's about right. So
if he starts on, let's just say, if he keeps, so the thing that we need to know is, are they making him start 1 week apart?
yeah,
Because if he's going to start on 1 week apart, then he'll pitch on the 4th, the 11th, and the 18th, and then he would be eligible to kind of come back mid 20th and on.
yeah,
But if they want to pitch him on a more traditional schedule and pitch him on, the 4th, the 9th, the 14th, well, then he might be eligible to come in on the 19th or 20th in that White Sox series. So we
yeah,
got to start looking at the Rainiers pitching probables for the weekend and see where they line up. Because in my
yeah,
mind, I feel like he's pitching on Sunday, but again, that's I've been known to be wrong before.
yeah. I think I mean obviously ultimately that would be probably the I guess the best landing spot for him, probably. But yeah, we don't necessarily know for sure, but I'm excited to get George Kirby back. Obviously, the rotation kind of needs a little bit of a bump. And then I guess the question is when he does come back, do they do something with Miller at that time? Because he's going to have a couple starts before then still. He's currently slated to face the Yankees, which kind of scares me right now with how he's been pitching. Um, I mean, do they send Miller down? Do they put him on the IL for a brief time? Do they? Because if not, then I would imagine Evans is probably the move for Kirby. So, what do you think about Miller as far as like, do you think putting him on the IL makes sense? Do you think sending him down to work on some stuff a little bit would work too?
I don't think they should send him down. I don't think this team can afford to put him on the IL. I would be in favor of, and I would need to look at how the schedule lines up and everything. I would be in favor of skipping a start,
Yeah,
just
or a
giving
six
him,
man.
no, not 6 man because this team is going to need bullpen help. And
Yeah,
if you go to 6 man rotation, you're taking one bullpen guy out of it. So
true.
I'm not going there. So um, for Miller, I would be willing to skip a start, especially against the Yankees, right?
Hmm.
So not that I'm in favor of punting a game, and they obviously could win even if someone else is pitching, but I would be more than fine with Jonathan Diaz coming up and getting a start. If again, I have to look at the off days and see if it works, but I'd be fine with Jonathan Diaz getting a start. Or is there a bullpen start in there? We've seen Carlos Vargas can go multiple innings. Bizardo can go 2 or 3 innings. I mean, I think that Miller does need a reset. I don't think this team can afford to send him to AAA and stash him down there for 15 days, which is what you'd have to do, or put him on the injured list. But I'd be okay with skipping a start because mechanically he just seems off right now.
Yeah,
It's not, and look, mechanics in pitching are very, very slim margin for error. So if you go and look at side by side pictures of him, you're not going to see that many differences. But I think those small differences you do see are what's causing his inability right now to hit the zone because that game against the A's on Monday, that was fairly hard to watch.
yeah. Yeah, it's been hard to watch him pitch, period. So far this year, I don't really feel like there's been any one start where you kind of felt like, okay, maybe he's getting back to it. Maybe the Cincinnati start, but that's like a maybe. And it's just so weird to see him not being able to. I don't know. He can't throw strikes. He has no control whatsoever under really any of his pitches, or at least for each start, it feels like it's one pitch he can kind of do okay, is like kind of mediocre but okay. The rest of them he just has nothing, and it's just
I
so
mean,
weird.
the thing that I noticed, and again, I was a Division III pitcher and a junior college baseball coach, right? Like I don't pretend to have all the answers, nor do I pretend to be a pitching scientist. But to me, in that A's series specifically, and I did go and find some video of this, his arm is lagging behind. And what I mean is, and I know we're doing some of this on video. I don't know if you're going to release all the video, but not to be like too nerdy about it. But like, you know, your arm is basically supposed to be out in front of you, right? When you land, your arm is supposed to be out front. That's what allows you to get on top of the ball, throw it down, and throw it straight. Okay. When Bryce Miller is landing, his arm is behind him further. And so at this point, your arm is going to release the ball no matter what. Your arm has two choices at this point. One is release it back here and the ball sails on you, and that's when it rides up, and that's when it rides in towards a right-handed batter. And you saw him the other day, all of his misses were in the same two spots. They were up and into a righty, or they were down and away. That is because your arm has two choices and two choices only. When your arm is behind, it releases it back here, and the ball sails on you, or you then spin way off towards first base, carry it with you, and now your arm is way out here, and you're dragging it into the left-handed batter's box. Those are the two choices your arm has. And those are the two places where Bryce Miller is missing. And that's it. Those are the only two places he's missing. Up and into a righty and way down and away. And that to me just screams of his arm is lagging behind where it needs to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, there was Brady's pitching class for nerds.
Yeah. And ironically, when you're wearing a Pitching Ninja shirt. So there we go.
Yes.
Nice.
Special edition. I need to get Rob Friedman on my podcast because I bought so much swag from Pitching Ninja. I need to be paid back for it somehow.
Yeah, right. I agree. So I guess in a more general sense now, who has been standing out to you recently? Could be a good or bad way, or it could be both.
Carlos Vargas, man, looks like a stud.
Yeah.
And what he's brought to the bullpen, I think, is huge and I want to see him get more chances, right? And because as Trent Thornton has kind of fallen out of the 8th inning role, and we don't think that Matt Brash is quite ready yet to assume it again, they need back end leverage guys that they can trust. And Munoz is obviously one. Spire on most days is 2. I think Vargas deserves to be in that 3 spot, right? Like, I like Colin Snyder. Colin Snyder to me doesn't seem like a guy that I want to bring in consistently in a 1-run game in the 8th inning. Vargas is a guy that I think can do that job right now, right? He's 98 to 99 with movement, pretty good slider. Yes, he will have some bouts of control, and I fully bake that into my assessment of where he's at, but I think Vargas has looked really, really good, and I would be in favor of him getting more leverage opportunities, whether that is in the 6th inning leverage spot or an 8th or a 7th or 8th inning leverage spot. He's a guy I'd rather see right there or right now than Thornton or Snyder in those spots.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you on that. I've been really impressed by him, and it feels like a lot of his outings have been very clutch for the Mariners in some way or another, whether it's length that they desperately needed, or like the other night where Munoz was down, we need someone to come in and get the save, and he came in and did it. And yeah, it's been really nice to see. I know I was kind of, I don't want to say high on him when we got him in I believe it was the Eugenio Suarez trade.
Yes.
We got him from the D-backs. So but I saw the potential there. I was like, this dude throws gas. He has some good movement, but controls he's kind of like a Shintaro Fujinami in a way, except for he has better control. Throws gas, has great movement. He just struggles to place the ball where he needs it, and it seems like he's kind of figured that out, which has been really cool to see. So yeah, because the only couple times where his outing has kind of failed, he's kind of been screwed by the home plate umpires. Like, it's happened several times now, especially in San Francisco. I remember that happening.
Yep.
So yeah, I do think he kind of deserves a bit more potential high leverage time. And it's interesting you said, oh, well, Brash shouldn't be back there, even though he basically has been. The first 2 outings have been like leverage situations. I'm like, I feel so bad, but at the same time, they didn't really have any other options, so I get it. And thankfully Brash seems pretty confident in how he's throwing right now. He knows the velo needs to get up a little bit more, but he's liking the way his pitches are moving, so that's really nice to see. To end this part out, next couple series are at home. We have the Toronto Blue Jays coming to Seattle, which is always a pretty contentious 3-game stretch when they are in Seattle. And then the New York Yankees, who are, I think, the only team that has a better record than us right now in the American League. So how are you feeling about Toronto in New York coming to town?
Nervous, mainly because of the Yankees. The Yankees just have the Mariners' number in Seattle, right? They have the Mariners' number everywhere, but they seem to really play well in Seattle, and they have for a long time. And Aaron Judge dominates the Mariners in Seattle. You mentioned Fried on the other side. The Mariners just do not have a lot of success against the Yankees, especially at home. That said, they didn't have success against the Red Sox in Fenway either, and they found a way to take the series from Boston also. So maybe this is just different. So I would say I am hoping for 3-3 out of this 6-game stretch, right? And when you've built up what they've built up, you can afford to go 3-3 through a 6-game stretch, right? These games against the Yankees are more of a luxury than a necessity. So if they went 2-1 against Toronto and 1-2 against the Yankees, I would probably say, fine, let's come out of that 3-3. They go 4-2 or better, I will be incredibly thrilled. If they go 2-4 or worse, I will be very disappointed given how they've been. So I am saying they have to go at least 3-3 for me to be happy out of what's happened. If they're under 500 in a 6-game homestand, that would be a disappointment, especially considering where they've been.
Yeah, I think the Toronto series is really going to, I feel like, set the tone for the New York series.
Yes.
They absolutely do need to win that, and I think they're definitely a better team than Toronto right now. So I don't see why they can't, and they already did once this year. So if we could get that done again, that would be nice, because I'm not excited at all to see Aaron Judge playing in Seattle again. He feels like he just mashes every time he plays here, and uh funny, I was present for his like huge home run. I think it was in like 2019 at T-Mobile, where like almost left the stadium type thing.
Yeah.
It was like Mike Zunino, like tied Mike Zunino for amount of feet or whatever that thing went. And yeah, so therefore I'm just totally terrified of Aaron Judge. Would be fine if they just intentionally walked him every single at bat. I don't even care if the bases are loaded, man. Just walk him, let him take his base, take the run, and then hope that you can get some outs after that. But yeah, Brady, appreciate you so much for coming on Mariners Rundown for the first time. Thanks for giving me your insight about what's going on with the Mariners. It's a fun time to be a Mariners fan right now, and hopefully that stays. I feel like we've said that before, and then it kind of came back to bite us last year, so hopefully it lasts this time. So Brady, go ahead and tell the people where they can find you.
Apple Podcast, Spotify, Refuse to Lose Podcast, or on social media at Refuse to Lose Pod. Thanks, Jake.
Yep. Thank you to Brady once again for being a part of Mariners Rundown. Really appreciate Brady. He's been a really nice, supportive force in the content space, so really cool to get him on. I'm sure he will be on future episodes of Mariners Rundown and the channel in general. So we're going to end this out. Obviously, we talk about the upcoming series. So we're about to host two AL East teams. Well, first, a 3-game set with the Toronto Blue Jays, who are currently 4th in the AL East, and at the time of this recording, they are 16-20. So they are under 500. We did already visit Toronto earlier on in the year and took 2 of 3 from them. So that was really nice. And yeah, Toronto comes to town now, which is always a really interesting atmosphere, just because obviously we are, Seattle is only a couple hours away from Vancouver and from the Canadian border. So we tend to get a lot of Toronto Blue Jays fans in T-Mobile Park. It always makes for a bit of an intense atmosphere around that series. So it's going to be really fun to watch this weekend. As far as the Blue Jays in general right now on the offensive side, they're pretty middle of the pack as far as batting average goes. So they're middle of the pack when it comes to the amount of hits they get, but their power is still very low. Otherwise, a lot of the other stats are pretty in the lower third of teams when it comes to the stats like power and on-base percentage and all that stuff. So the offense is pretty much their biggest weakness probably at this point, I guess. So hopefully we can, especially being in T-Mobile Park, hopefully our pitchers can expose that a little bit. Right now, the pitcher matchups that are currently probable per ESPN. So this, once again, this may change. We may not see these matchups in this way. But right now, game 1 is set to be Kevin Gausman versus Luis Castillo. Obviously, very interesting matchup. Kevin Gausman is the ace pretty much of the Blue Jays, or has been at least for quite a few years now. And yeah, really excited to see how Cal Raleigh does specifically, because not only does Cal Raleigh hit really well against the Toronto Blue Jays, but he hits really well against Kevin Gausman. Right now, Cal Raleigh in his career against Kevin Gausman is 4 for 9 with 3 home runs, all solo home runs, and only 4 strikeouts. So Pretty much, unless he's hitting a home run, he's striking out against Gosman. But really excited to see that matchup in game one. Game two right now is set to be Bowden Francis versus Logan Evans. We saw Francis earlier on in the year, and Evans, hopefully he can have a good start in T-Mobile Park, a bit more of a pitcher-friendly ballpark than not Sutter Health Field, Arlington, Globe Life Field. So we'll see how he does. I'm excited to see his third start and see how that goes, and then we can kind of figure out what's going to go on with him, especially once Kirby is back. In game three, Luis Urena, I think the N has a thing over it, so I think it's Urena, technically, versus Bryce Miller. And Bryce Miller really needs to have a good start, I think. If he has another clunker, then we are probably looking at, does he need to go on the IL? Like, what's going on? So hopefully he can have a good start, especially against an offense that's a bit shaky, and see how he does. So looking forward to the Toronto series. And then right after that, we're going to have a 3-game set against the New York Yankees, who are pretty much the second best team in the American League right now. They're currently, as I'm writing this, 21-16. I believe they play today as I'm recording this. So they could be right around our 22-win range at this point. And obviously they're going to be tough, especially their offense. Their offense in almost every category is one of the best in baseball, in the top third of almost all stats. So kind of like our offense a little bit. And then specifically Aaron Judge is having another MVP caliber season. So he's currently batting, or Aaron Judge's current slash line right now is 491, 750. He's hit 12 home runs and currently sports a 246 WRC plus. So I would be fine if they just intentionally walked Aaron Judge every single time he comes up to bat. They're not going to do that. But yeah, I'm scared. I'm terrified of him coming to T-Mobile Park. And specifically against the Mariners, Aaron Judge hits pretty well. Against the Mariners lifetime, he is hitting 294, 428, 713 with 15 home runs in only 136 ABs. So he's a Mariners killer for sure. And yeah, not happy to see him coming to the ballpark at all. But we had to face him 6 times a year regardless, so it is what it is. But yeah, that's going to be an interesting series to watch. As far as our pitching matchups right now, per ESPN once again, so this could be different come the actual day. Right now, game 1 is set to be Max Fried versus Emerson Hancock. Absolutely terrified of Fried. Not only is he a really good pitcher, but he's a good lefty, and we're not great against lefties, period. So that's going to be a bit of a struggle start for sure. But yeah, Max Fried versus Emerson Hancock. See how that goes. Right now, game 2, don't know who the Yankee starter is going to be, but they're going to go against Brian Wu, so hopefully he can have a bit of a bounce back start from his clunker against the Athletics. And then in game 3, we have, I don't remember his first name, my bad, Yankees starter with the name of Warren, so I don't know his first name, my apologies, versus Luis Castillo. So yeah, there's that. And then the Yankees bullpen is top 10 in most stats other than walks. They're like 29th in walk rate right now. So that's something to look forward to, especially for a team like the Mariners who really likes to take walks. See if that becomes a factor. So yeah, but that's going to be it for this episode of Mariners Rundown. I appreciate you if you have listened through the whole thing. Once again, if you're listening to the show on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please follow the show and leave a 5-star review. It helps me out a lot. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. And if you like the channel enough, you can become a member for a couple dollars a month to get exclusive content. Along with this episode right now, members are going to get a little exclusive peek at Brady Farkas, who I interviewed in this main episode. And members only, we did a little interview about his playing career and whatnot, and some interesting tidbits there. So yeah, you can go check that out if you become a member. And if you already are, thank you so much. But that's going to be it for me in this one. I will see you in the next.